After the flyaway to Japan and China, we've travelled back across the other side of the globe to the Miami GP. This is a track that, when it was first revealed, I wasn't really a fan. However, over the past few years and having raced it much more, this circuit has really grown on me in a similar way to how Jeddah has. It's another purpose-made street circuit with long straights, fast sweeping corners, and some really technical sectors. And this car setup is much more aggressive than our last few, but Miami is a track where aggressive can really work well. Kicking off this setup is our aero setup, and I've gone for wings of 27 and 19. This is targeted much more at allowing the rear of the car to rotate a little more than in our previous setups. This will help the car rotate and almost slide through some corners, which is incredibly useful around this circuit. With the transmission, I've set the on-throttle differential a touch on the lower side at 40%, and this will help with traction out of the slower corners such as turns 1, 16 and 17. I've then set the off-throttle at 45% and the engine braking at 50%. I believe this is the highest engine braking setup I've used so far in F124. The way you throw your car through the sweeping turns while balancing throttle and braking inputs lets the engine braking slow the car more aggressively. The looseness that comes with increased engine braking works really well in this scenario. For the suspension geometry, I've set the camber to -3.4 and -2.1 and the toe at 0.12 on both front and rear. This style of setup allows the car to really lean on its tyres, helping with mechanical grip. This approach ensures you always have enough mechanical grip even with the looser rear end. Set the front suspension to 37 and rear to just 4. This is a huge offset between front and rear and really helps the front of the car remain incredibly responsive and the rear much more compliant. Then opt for anti-roll bars of 10 and 7. This is more towards the higher side compared to most of our setups so far and is a more aggressive route. For the ride height, I've kept things pretty balanced, if not on the higher side. Go at 25 and 58. This allows for more of a gap under the car so that it doesn't become too destabilised when attacking those curbs. Opt for 98% brake pressure like normal and go with the slightly lower than average brake bias of 53%. Even with the more neutral brake bias, the rear of the car remains stable under braking and helps avoid locking the front wheel through some of the faster segments. To combat the aggressive style of this car setup, I've set the tyre pressures higher than normal, go with 26.5 psi on both fronts and 23.4 psi on both rears. This is a kind of necessary evil to try and keep tyre temperatures low while not really losing much performance. And that rounds out our Miami car setup. This is a really fun track to drive once you get into a rhythm, and this car setup lets you really attack the track and play with the rear end. Let me know in the comments whether you like this slightly more aggressive approach and how you perform with this setup. If the setup's helped you out, hit that like button as it will help this video get in front of more people. But for now guys, enjoy Miami and I'll see you on track.